I found my dad's Insta with his secret job pictures. Hello there. My name is Joanna. Right now, I'm going to tell you a story of how I almost ruined my family, I thought, but got involved in the biggest embarrassment of my life anyway. This is Hannah, my best friend. While this story was happening, she was going through one of the toughest periods in any teenager's life, her parents' divorce, and I was trying to do my best to support her. Back then, we would usually spend our days and nights discussing all the patterns of Hannah's dad's behaviour, upon which her mum had finally guessed that he was cheating on her. For example, he started returning home late from work, or he'd receive strange phone calls, and then he would go hide in the weirdest places around the house so no one could hear him. Well, to me this resembled a lot of the stuff that usually happens in any cheap soap opera. So once, I often wondered how come Hannah's mum couldn't have figured it out earlier that he was lying to her. Why wouldn't she have been suspicious for almost the whole year that it was happening? I said if I were in her place, I would have been able to recognise cheating just like that. This statement had actually made my friend a little irritated and offended, and we had a big fight. Anyway, this situation with her parents had made me slightly interested in my own dad's behaviour. I mean, his relationship seemed good with my mum, and there was nothing to worry about in terms of a divorce or anything. I just wanted to have some fun, and I started to sort of shadow my dad. You might call me a worrywart, but once I took a closer look, my dad turned out to be pretty suspicious. He had recently switched to another job connected to security somehow, and his working schedule since then had become an after-dark one. But what was actually strange, that I hadn't noticed before, was that during the daytime he began spending a few hours at the gym on a daily basis. I mean, why would you need to go there every day instead of once or twice a week like everybody else does? I also noticed that once, when his cell phone rang, the name BB popped up, and he rushed out of the room so that I couldn't hear what he was going to talk about with BB. Wasn't that strange? Of course, I had to share this information with someone, and I told everything to Hannah. Based on her own experience, she immediately said that my dad was also a cheater and that my parents would also soon be divorced. I told her she was nuts, but to be honest, I couldn't say that I totally thought she was wrong. I knew that I needed to get more pieces of evidence for any of my suspicions to be proven. So once, when Dad returned home after his usual gym session, Hannah and I were at home, and she forced me to rummage through his athletic bag. I know this was totally inappropriate, but I struck at the right moment, and the thing I found in there had actually irreversibly changed my mind. It was a pink blouse. I felt a cold sweat cover my whole back. It all fit. I didn't want to believe my eyes. Of course, I put that thing back as if I'd touched nothing, and I rushed to my room. Silent tears were teasing me, but when I saw Hannah sitting there on my bed and looking at me as if she was dying to know what I'd just learned, I just cried hard. I couldn't believe that Hannah was right. I can't be the daughter of a liar and a traitor. Hannah tried to cheer me up and say that finally everything was going to be okay for everybody, and then I immediately thought about my mum. Even though Hannah said she was thinking that I had no right to keep this a secret, I wasn't sure this was actually anything that was my business. These doubts were torture for me for the next couple of days. I couldn't stop thinking about that situation. A couple of times I found myself trying to imagine what the other woman looked like. I don't know why, but I thought that she was a tall, curly blonde with enormous, huge, semi-permanent eyelashes and Botox red lips. I could neither eat nor sleep well, and I couldn't stand my dad anywhere near me, even at the dining table. So at some point, when my mum had asked me what was wrong, and I couldn't help but start crying, when I finally managed to tell her about all of my worries about my dad, surprisingly, she just sighed and said that we should have had this talk a long time ago. I was listening to her with my mouth wide open from the shocking information I had gotten about my dad. Mum said that BB was the nickname of Dad's boss, and that this blouse had actually belonged to my dad. He would wear it from time to time at work.